Hello, welcome to another video. Thank you very much for being here. As always, this is going to be a monthly rundown for the month of August in 2024. And as always, we're going to be looking at my top picks for upcoming sci-fi and fantasy books. So the first fantasy book that I want to highlight, it comes out on the 20th of August, and it is Asunder by Kirsten Hall. This book, literally as soon as I read the first two lines of the synopsis, it had me. It sounds really cool. I will read the synopsis right now for you. Karis Esker is a death speaker, locked into an irrevocable compact with Sebasta, a terrifying eldritch being, three-faced, hundred-winged, unforgiving, who has granted her the ability to communicate with the newly departed. She pays the rent by using her abilities to investigate suspicious deaths around the troubled city she calls home. When a job goes sideways and connects her to a dying stranger with some very dangerous secrets, her entire world is upended. Ferain is willing to pay a ludicrous sum of money to help her. To save him, Karis inadvertently binds him to her shadow, an act that may doom them both. If they want to survive, they will need to learn to trust one another. Together, they must journey to the heart of a faded empire, all the while haunted by arcane horrors and the unquiet ghosts of their pasts. And all too soon, Karis knows her depths will come due. I think that sounds really, really, really good. I butchered that when I was reading it. Well, it doesn't matter. But no, I think it sounds really cool. I actually don't know of any books from Kirsten Hall. I need to have a look. But no, I caught this one. This one caught me, and you know, if you've watched my previous videos, the word that caught me in the first sort of line of this synopsis was eldritch. I absolutely love eldritch horror. I love eldritch entities. Anything Lovecraft, not the man, his works. But yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Whenever I'm writing D&D campaigns, or anything that's similar, I love throwing in eldritch sort of entities and horrors, and just sort of for a bit of flavour. I think it adds a really nice bit of flavour, and I want to say it's not been done to death yet, or at least I haven't come across it too much. It's definitely been done a lot more in recent years, but again, not to death yet. So yeah, I'm absolutely, I'm really, really enjoying it. And if you've read Collapse, you'll know that yeah, I'm a fan of eldritch horror. There's a little sprinkle in there, but no spoilers, no spoilers. But no, it sounds really, really cool. The artwork for the book, it's not offensive. I don't really have an opinion on it, if I'm completely honest. It's pretty basic, but that's not to say that it's not a good cover. I think it's effective, and it did catch my eye when I was looking at the list of upcoming books. So no, Asunder by Kirsten Hall comes out 20th of August, and it looks pretty good, and I will be adding it to my to be read lists. But moving on to the next book. The next fantasy book that I have on my list is Long Live Evil. This is by Sarah Rees Brennan, and this comes out on August 27th. This book sounds so good. It seems like such a nice breath of fresh air. I'll get straight into the synopsis, and then we can talk about it afterwards. When her whole life collapsed, Ray still had books. Dying, she seizes a second chance at living, a magical bargain that lets her enter the world of her favourite fantasy series. She wakes in a castle on the edge of a hellish chasm, in a kingdom on the brink of war. Home to dangerous monsters, scheming courtiers, and her favourite fictional character, the once and forever Emperor. He's impossibly alluring, as only fiction can be. And in this fantasy world, she discovers that she's not the heroine, but the villainess in the Emperor's tale. So be it. The wicked are better dressed, with better one-liners, even if they are doomed to bad ends. She assembles the wildly disparate villains of the story under her evil leadership, plotting to change their fate. But as the body count rises and the Emperor's fury increases, it seems Rey and her allies may not survive to see the final page. What more can I say? That sounds so good. I think of all the books that I've read the synopsis for and had a look at during these videos, during these monthly rundown videos since I started back in June, I think it was, or May. This one's really got me. It sounds like such a breath of fresh air. I know books like this exist out there, but they're fairly few and far between. And I'm always a bit of a sucker for a story that takes the perspective of the sort of evil character. I actually have an idea for a book in the future, God knows when. But yeah, something similar. But Yeah, it sounds really cool, and I think I'm actually going to bump this up to pretty near the top of my to be read list because I'm actually really looking forward to reading this. But like I said, comes out on the 27th of August. That is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. I think that sounds fantastic. Let's move on to the next fantasy book. Lastly, the third fantasy book that I want to highlight that I'm really looking forward to is Voyage of the Damned by Francis White. This comes out on August 20th, and the synopsis goes as follows. For 1,000 years, Concordia has maintained peace between its provinces. To mark this incredible feat, the Emperor's ship embarks upon a 12-day voyage to the sacred Goddess's Mountain. Aboard are 12 heirs of the provinces of Concordia, each graced with a unique and secret magical ability known as a blessing. All except one, Ganymede's Pissarro, class clown, slacker, and all-round disappointment. When a beloved heir is murdered, everyone is a suspect. Stuck at sea, surrounded by powerful people, and without a blessing to protect him, Ganymede's odds of survival are slim. But, as the bodies pile higher, Ganymedes must become the hero he was not born to be. Can he unmask the killer and their secret blessing before this bloody crusade reaches the shores of Concordia? Or will the Empire as he knows it fall? I think that sounds really good. It's a bit of a sort of Poirot River, Death on the Nile, kind of story. I like a murder mystery. I'm not a huge fan of murder mysteries, but I definitely do enjoy the odd one here and there. And given that this is basically a murder mystery with the fantasy twist, and that obviously the sort of suspects all have special secret magical powers, I think it sounds like a very good read. This is definitely going to be added to my to be read list. I'm realizing pretty quickly that having done these videos for the past few months, my to be read list is growing rather large and expansive. So I might need to chop and change and take a few out. I'm happy to do a video on my to be read list if that's of interest. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. But without further ado, we will move on to sci-fi. For sci-fi, each of the three books that I'm gonna showcase are already out. All three of them came out on the 6th of August, but that's not to say that I didn't want to highlight them anyway because I think they sound like really good books. The first of which is Hum by Helen Phillips, and as I mentioned, this came out on August 6th, and the synopsis goes as follows. In a city addled by climate change and populated by intelligent robots called Hums, May loses her job to artificial intelligence. In a desperate bid to resolve her family's death and secure their future for another few months, she becomes a guinea pig in an experiment that alters her face so it cannot be recognised by surveillance. Seeking some reprieve from her recent hardships and from her family's addiction to their devices, she splurges on passes that allows them 3 nights respite inside the botanical garden, a rare green refuge where forests, streams and animals flourish. But her insistence that her son, daughter and husband leave their devices at home proves far more fraught than she anticipated. And the lush beauty of the botanical garden is not the balm she hoped it would be. When her children come under threat, May is forced to put her trust in a hum of uncertain motives as she works to restore the life of her family. I think it sounds interesting. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think it sounds groundbreaking. I don't think it sounds like it's doing anything particularly new, but I do think it sounds like a pretty good read, and I will be adding it to my read list for probably further down the list if I'm completely honest. But it caught my attention, and that's the most important thing. And I like the simplicity of the cover art. Yeah, sounds like a good read. But we'll move on to the second sci-fi book. Sci-fi book number 2 is The Mechanics of Memory by Audrey Lee. This also, as I mentioned, came out on August 6th, and the synopsis goes as follows. Memory is Copeland Stark's business, yet after months of reconciliation treatments at their sleek new flagship facility, Hope Nakano still has no idea what happened to her lost year, or the life she was beginning to build with her one great love. Each procedure surfaces fragmented clues which erode Hope's trust in her own memories, especially the ones of Luke. As inconsistencies mount, her search for answers reveals a much larger secret Copeland Stark is determined to protect, but everyone has secrets, including Hope. I butchered reading that. But no, it sounds good. Again, I don't think this is doing anything particularly new, but I do like, sort of psychological, memory-based books and narratives. yeah, I think it sounds like a good read. There's not really much more to say on it, to be honest. It sounds interesting, but not groundbreaking. We will see. The cover art is okay. Doesn't really do anything for me, if I'm completely honest. It's very simple, but again, that doesn't take anything away from it. Never judge a book by its cover, the classic adage. We'll move on to the third sci-fi book. Third and finally, the last sci-fi book that I want to showcase for August 2024 is To Turn the Tide by S.M. Sterling. And again, as I mentioned, just like the previous two, this one came out on August 6th as well. The synopsis goes as this. Many could see it coming, but one man could do something about it. Oh, he couldn't avert the nuclear holocaust, but a scientist in Austria, ruthlessly using billions of research dollars for his own purposes, set up an out for himself. He created a time machine and filled a warehouse with low-tech survival gear. Too bad he didn't get to use it himself. Instead, a team of American grad students, led by their professor, is sent back to the late Roman Empire. Even though they are experts in this time and place, they are about to realise that books and actual experience are very different things. If they can survive, they hope to remake the world into a better place. But that's a big if. Roman Empire. What do I need to say? Yeah, I love time travel. It's been beaten to death, so I'll be very curious to see how this book handles time travel, because it can be a pretty finicky. If it's used as a sort of get out of jail card kind of plot point, then it's kind of but this sounds like the sort of the narrative of this is almost a consequence of the time travel, which I quite like. So kind of. But yeah, I mean, Roman Empire. Again, what more do I need to say? This sounds great. Time travelers from the modern day going back to the Roman Empire, having to sort of deal with the social, political, geological, all the calls that you could possibly think of. But no, I mean, it sounds great. The Roman Empire is fascinating. You remember the memes. Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds like a really good read, and I'm really, really actually looking forward to reading this one. I might bump this one up to near the top of the list as well. So some really good books coming out in August. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you like any of these books, then please go ahead and give the author some love. Other than that, there's not much more to say. I have another video coming up very soon. I've been pretty lax on the uploads, as I've mentioned. Life gets in the way sometimes, but I'm back and I'm recording a few videos today. So if you see me in the next few videos wearing this t-shirt, you know why. But I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See ya.